1 week season. One week season.
1 week season, fam, La Familia. Welcome back. It is M. Johnson 86, or Mike Johnson, as my family refers to me. We are excited to be back. NFL draft is in the books, right down the street from me. I was able to attend it for a couple of days. And as always, that means the start of drafting season, the start of best ball. Well, I mean, there's some prior to this, but that's another lane we won't go down today. Excited to get going. oneweekseason.com. Check us out. We've got our Best Ball Plus product that has some changes this year. Change things up a little bit. We've also got the Best Ball Basics. If you're just looking for some rankings and some basic information to throw a few drafts in and have some fun, kind of tiered ourselves that way. So check us out if you haven't already. We are going to do a live draft today on drafters.com, my favorite place to play best ball. I'm going to bring in my esteemed co-host, Mr. Billy Gableman, StatATL. How we doing today?
Mike, I'm doing better now that I see Golden Bell in the background there. I always love when you've got a Masters background going.
Yeah, it was I still had it from last year. It must have just like defaulted on my computer from whenever the last recording I did at the end of last season. And I was like, I pulled it up. I'm like, hey, it's still April. We'll roll with it. And here we are.
It's still Masters month.
What's that?
I said it's still Masters month.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm guessing, have you done any best ball drafts at all so far?
I have not. Yeah, I like to not going to have anything negative for the degens who are drafting prior to the NFL draft. But to me, it's already a little bit it's already hard enough as it is. I don't need to be guessing where I think guys are going to land.
Hey, we don't need to be catching strays from you here, okay?
Just trying to set the tone early.
Yeah. So we are, of course, like I said, drafting on drafters.com. They have not dropped their smaller contests yet, but their main event, structure-wise, very similar to last year, where they had a $2.5 million prize pool, $500,000 to first. The main difference is this year it's a $20 price point instead of $15. So the max entries would be $140,000 if it fills. It would, last year I think it was like 186,000 would have been the max, but I think it ended at 152,000. So, a little bit different. Anyone watching, if you want to hop in, we're sitting at 9 out of 12. Of course, these first few weeks, a lot of times it takes a little longer for these drafts to fill. So, but yeah, we've got a lot to catch up on. I guess while we're waiting here, quickly I'll go through. I pulled it up before just for a second, but they're milestone bonuses this year. So you can see that we are both wearing. Myself, I'm wearing the Drafters t-shirt for maxing from 2 years ago. Billy has the one that they sent out last year to much controversy, I guess. It was such a weird situation. A lot of our subs who had also maxed were like, where are our shirts? It's like November. Apparently, they're a Canadian-based company, and there was some big strike with the postal union up there or something. I don't know. But all their shirts were sitting in boxes for like 3 months. I did finally get mine. Obviously, you got yours. I know a couple people said they were still waiting on theirs. I would say email support. They're pretty good. Or If you're one of our subs, message me and I'll help you out there. But anyways, I digress. For this year, their rewards, couple things. You do 10 drafts, you get 1 ticket. 25, you get another one. 50, you get another one. 75, you get another one. You get 2 more at 100 drafts. And then you get $150 in bonus funds once you max enter it. So basically $270 you would get back if you were to max it. And it is $3,000 to enter. So about a 10% rebate you're getting there. The thing I'm just noticing now as we talk is
don't forget about the free T-shirt, Mike. It doesn't say
there's no T-shirt this year. I think last
year.
No
T-shirt? Are you sure? I think in the email they said there was a T-shirt for maxing it.
Really? I did not see
that. I'm going to pull my email and see.
For this year?
Yeah, for this year. I'm pretty sure I saw that for this year.
Oh, it is. Look at that. You're right. There is a T-shirt. I'm looking at the email now. So there you go. I thought they would just get rid of that because it seemed like, I don't know that that's moving the needle or changing whether someone maxes or not. And it seemed like a lot of hassle. So, but good for them, I guess. I would rather just have one more ticket, but to each their own. Anyways, the one thing that stood out to me though, in orange, you can see all rewards double until June 30th. So that's kind of an interesting, wrinkle
little wrinkle there.
Yeah, because it's interesting for me, especially because, I'm going to talk about it on this week's training session for Best Ball Plus subscribers. But my thought process entering was a little bit different as far as kind of holding off. So I'll have to weigh the pros and cons there. Good job. Shout out to drafters for, making us think a little bit. That's why we love them though. They, there's some theory behind what you're deciding. Look at that. Just like last year, I feel like 2/3 of these drafts, I had the 1 or 2 pick or the 11 or 12 pick. So we have lots of talking time between rounds, kicking it off just like we did episode 1 in 2024 with the 12th pick. So yeah, we'll have.
Hey, buddy, it'll give us time because I know you went to the NFL draft because it was in Green Bay this year. So time to kind of fill. You can talk to people about what that experience was like. I've gone to a bunch of NHL drafts for years, but never been to the NFL draft. So I'd be kind of curious to hear what that's like. Watched a little bit of it on TV, just kind of in the background. It's tough though, it's with a Friday of last week. It's you've got the NHL playoffs are on at night, and then with it starting, I think it started at like 7 or 8. Like that's like the end of, I think it was the Zurich last week. Like both of us really like golf, so it's kind of like a lot of competing things here for the NFL draft. Not really going to change. I can see who went first overall 30 minutes later. Not really going to move the needle for me that much. So,
yeah, it's definitely it's a bit of a slow moving process. Obviously, you're waiting. When the big thing was the trade, the Browns trade, right? Jacksonville trading up for Travis Hunter, which. That whole situation with the Jaguars, interesting now with, Hunter. There was, will he be a receiver? Will he be a cornerback? Kind of how they'll play into that. It sounds like he's going to be primarily offense, and then he'll play some corner. I'm guessing, clear passing situations, that sort of thing. He's a ball hawk. He can make some plays. So, yeah, that'll all be interesting. But yeah, they've had, they lost Christian Kirk. They lost Evan Ingram. Trevor Lawrence is back, and he's been kind of disappointing considering the hype that he entered the league with. But then Brian Thomas obviously dominated at the end of at the end of last season. So it'll just, they're one of the more intriguing teams in the league as far as like, what does this season look like? And they've got, Liam Cohen, a new head coach. So, you always have those teams where there's so much projection, there's so much guesswork, and that really is, Jacksonville is kind of the top of that list this year, as Thomas just went.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be, obviously I'll fill while you're deciding which direction you're going to go. If you remember from last year, this would be an auto Nico Collins for me.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, I mean, outside of Brian Thomas, like I think they also signed De'Ami Brown in free agency, so that'll be interesting to kind of see what that 3 wide receivers set looks like. But I know it's something I'm sure we'll talk more strategy as the preseason rolls on. But to me, like I really love Brenton Strange here. Like we saw what he did at the end of last year. Evan Ingram is now gone, so it's kind of him. I guess they've got Johnny Munt too, but like I think this is you're gonna see a lot more Brenton Strange, and he's, again, I haven't done any of these drafts, but he's probably a guy who's going really late. So be interesting to kind of see how that dynamic, shakes out.
Yeah, I'll pull it up here. I did drop our rankings. The scroll will be up probably today for our subscribers. I did drop in the Discord. I sent out the rankings. I've just got it up by ADP right now, but you could see, that's the thing with Jacksonville. So Thomas is his ADP right at that 1-2 turn. Then Hunter is at like the 4 or 5 turn. And then the rest of this offense, you've got 3 running backs all being picked between the 10th and 13th round in Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, and Rashul Tutin. I think I'm saying that correctly. But kind of an athletic freak that they drafted in, I believe, the 4th round.
Yep, 4th round. And
then, Strange is going pick 170, which would be about the 15th round. And then, they added De'Ami Brown as another wide receiver. He obviously ended the season very strong for the Commanders last year. So, it's there's a lot of uncertainty there as far as how that's going to play out. Will they be any good? But, those are the types of teams I feel like there's 1 or 2 each year that just the uncertainty on who will be the guys and how good will they be? Will the team produce much? That if you get those teams right, especially in this format, it can really kind of make a huge difference.
Yeah, what's interesting, just like right off the hop, is one seeing 4 running backs in the first 6 picks. Like, basically every draft last year was 12 straight wide receivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so. And I mean, you've got you would have, CMC was in the top 6 usually, if not top 3, at least prior to like the end of it. And then you had Bijan, Brees, and Gibbs kind of all around that 1-2 turn. Usually would go anywhere from 7 to 16. You'd see all 3 of those go off the board. Like you said, this year we've got 7 guys in the top 16 picks right now. You've got 2 tight ends in Bowers and McBride. It's, as we go through the season with the subscribers and the training sessions, we'll dig into that kind of changing meta, how people are drafting differently, how they're adjusting to last year, kind of what I think it means. I've been spending the last few weeks kind of diving into last year's results. Just some interesting things, and I think that kind of the general perception is slightly skewed by some people on what last year's what it looked like and what it meant. I'll be interested or excited, I guess, to dig into it as we go. Looks like it's back around to me. I'm just going to keep loading up at wide receiver. Actually, I'm going to take I'll take Adams, and I will take Mike Evans.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Evans with them. Obviously re-signing Chris Godwin, then they go and draft a receiver in the first round.
And Jalen
it's going to be
McMillan's
interesting to see what that dynamic looks like. Can Mike Evans go for 1,000 yards again?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few things. There's Evans, I think, is 31 now. Maybe turns 32 during the season. Godwin had that ankle injury. He did sign, but we saw last season with the Kirk Cousins, the Falcons signs the big contract. Then they go and they pick Michael Penix Jr. in the first round, I think 8th overall in the draft. And everyone's like, well, what are they doing? But obviously, these players coming back from injury, you look at Cousins last year, he had the 2 big games against the Bucks secondary, but otherwise, he was he couldn't really move. He didn't have anything much on his passes. So, them taking Egbuka, it muddies the waters for that Buccaneers receiving core. But I think that it kind of signals to me Godwin, I think he's probably going to be a better pick on a DraftKings or Underdog. I'm a little worried about how he starts the season. I also think you look at I love that the Bucs took Egbuka, because one thing I think teams wrongly do a lot is they draft for need, and they will just be like, okay, well, we suck in this area. The Bucs secondary was bad. So we're going to take the best guy at that position with our first round pick. I like when teams do this where they draft to a strength. So, you look at them last year, they lost Godwin. Evans missed a couple weeks as well. And their offense is built around that passing game and the receivers. And now you've got these replacement level players. So I like that now they do have depth. They've got 4 really good wide receivers. And I like how kind of this whole Bucs receiving core is now going to be a little bit undervalued, in my opinion. Obviously, there is not going to be – everybody's not going to maximize or go way past, but somebody here is going to be a big value, whether it's Godwin comes back healthy and then he's a value. Godwin isn't healthy, and then one of Egbuka or McMillan is a value, or even Evans, he's being picked here at the 3-4 turn. And, we look at last season, he was, let me pull it up.
You are on the clock if you want to.
Ooh, good call. Godwin's right at the top of my list there.
Yeah, I see it.
I'll take Rome, and then what do we have here? We get another guy we can talk about.
Debo. Oh, you go Metcalf.
I was going to go Debo, but yeah, we'll get Debo. We get 5 receivers here.
I mean, that Washington offense, I think it's going to be a target for a lot of teams drafting this year. I mean, adding Debo with Terry McLaurin, I think when we get there a little bit later, can you actually pull up Washington, just their team here in the like what you did before?
Yeah,
I'm really curious where Brian Robinson Jr. is going in these drafts.
he's going pick 106 is his ADP right now. It'll go up, from there. But I'm same as you, kind of curious how high that goes. So yeah,
He feels like he was just a winner in the like with them not really. I mean, they took someone honestly that I wasn't familiar with in the 7th round, a running back like really late, but like they didn't grab like a true workhorse. And Austin Eckler is, however old he is these days, like it feels like on a powerful offense with an exciting young quarterback, like for him to be going pick 100 and something, that just feels like great to me. That feels like James Conner last year, and we had this conversation, and I was just taking James Conner probably more than I should have last year in like the 9th and 10th round, because it's just like, this is wrong. Like this is value. You probably want some, if you've got Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson as your 2 running backs, or Najee Harris, you know what I mean? If you've got some older guys, you probably want to grab some more of those flyer running backs with your later round picks. Because it's probably unlikely that a James Conner type is still playing week 17.
right.
And so it's about that balance.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, Debo getting added to Washington, kind of exactly what they needed. I thought that was just such a sharp pickup for them. And Eckler is obviously older. Jaden Daniels was, lit the world on fire last year. But yeah, you've got Robinson, if he does indeed become that feature back, just looking at, actually, I'll pull him back up here. Looking at last season, he had a really good start to the season until he battled some injuries. But yeah, and you got to think about, we see that sometimes with these quarterbacks built like Daniels, who come in the league and they kind of light the league on fire. And a lot of it's with their rushing, but like he was so good. And also they've got to start thinking like long-term. They made the conference championship game. So, their goals this season are not just like, let's see what we've got here. Let's let it rip. They've got to feel pretty good about where they're at. So like, do they preserve him a little bit more? Does that mean more goal line work for the backs, and particularly Robinson, who, if he can stay healthy, you're really rolling.
Yeah, that offense in general is going to be like, I know they, we'll kind of see that, along with Debo, like I think they signed Michael Gallup as well. I'm not super familiar with Jalen Lane, like the wide receiver they took out of Virginia Tech in the 4th round. Being based in Atlanta, StatATL, we watch a lot of SEC football, so didn't catch too many Virginia Tech games, but be kind of curious to see what he brings to the table as well.
Yeah. All right, so I took Cooper Kupp and then added Jonnu Smith as my first tight end. Who, bit of a reach based on ADP, but these ADPs right now are so kind of fluid. They're going to change a bunch. Kind of the theme of this team here. I've got Adams, Evans, Debo, Kupp, a lot of veteran type receivers.
You got a lot of old wide receivers.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, again, it's opportunity. What is Cooper Kupp? Something wasn't right the end of last season. I don't know what it was or what caused it, or maybe he has nothing left in the tank. But also, if he has kind of anything left in the tank, he's going to get peppered with targets. He's got Sam Darnold throwing to him. We saw Darnold have a great season last year. I'm interested to see how that Seattle situation plays out. They obviously Metcalf and Lockett are gone, so it's kind of the JSN show. But this is kind of an early inefficiency I can see where, like, yes, Kupp is old and he ended last year kind of on a downward swing. JSN is young, and he finished last year strong, but also, JSN going early third round, Cup going, that 7th or 8th round. That's a big swing. I'm interested. I took Jonnu. I'm interested how Miami plays out. Tyreek Hill, just kind of an enigma. Has talked about not wanting to be in Miami anymore. He's kind of fluctuated. He's a little bit older, considering how reliant he's been on his speed. Those types of guys who, like, their physical tools are just off the charts. Once they kind of reach that point where those things might kind of, level off, especially if they show a little bit of a downtrend or lack of enthusiasm for the game, I start to worry about them. And Jonnu was just like, he was a monster last year.
Yeah. And he was somebody that if you're a Best Ball Plus subscriber from 2024, that was somebody we were pretty high on, certainly later in drafts as a tight end that we were both pretty excited to target. So.
Yeah, he's so good in space with the ball in his hands. He fits to his skill set. I was really high on him, and he even as high as I was on him, he went way past that. He started the season like slow. Part of it was his role. He was, they were kind of limiting how much he played. Part of it was, the Tua injury. But if you look at the end of the season, from week 11 on, he had 28 points, 24. I'm rounding here. 28, 24, 21, 13, 20, 12, 12, 18 19. That's that's pretty elite.
Strong numbers for a tight end.
He was the he was the tight end 2 behind Trey McBride, ahead of Brock Bowers during that stretch from week 11 on last year. And when you think about how Brock Bowers is viewed right now, he is going in the 2nd round. Obviously, he's a stud. He was a rookie last year. But Jonnu, it's kind of like an arbitrage for those in the financial world. You're getting a 6-round discount on somebody who kind of ended last season very similarly. All right, here we go. I just keep going with the old guys. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Purdy and last year's subscribers. I'll touch on that in this week's training session, but there's kind of there's a reason there. And I'll just go ahead and take Charbonnet. Kind of get another Seahawk. You've got Cup, add Charbonnet to the mix. Seattle, another interesting team. They, the start of last season, they came out. So sorry. Clint Kubiak is the new Seahawks offensive coordinator. He was with the Saints prior. The Seahawks fired Ryan Grubb after 1 season in the role. Their head coach, Mike McDonald, is a defensive guy. So weren't happy with their offense from last season, went to Clint Kubiak. Well, if we look at Clint Kubiak, the Saints were the darlings of the league through 2 weeks last year. They were 2 or 3 weeks, they were averaging like 40 points a game. Then the injuries started to pile up and things kind of all fell apart for him. But Kubiak, he knows his stuff. So if he can maximize Cup, Charbonnet, he had some massive games. I think he had like a 40-point game at one point when Walker was out. So they're a team. Excuse me. Another team with kind of some questions around them that I'm interested to see how they play out. Yeah.
Yeah, I know we touched on them just in general on offense. It'll be kind of curious to see. They drafted Jalen Milroe, so I'd be curious if we get to see him at all as the season kind of progresses on. Sam Darnold, obviously strong year last year with Minnesota. We'll kind of see how that pans out and changes. But I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle struggles, the first half of the year, if we don't get a taste of Jalen Milroe come the second half of the year.
Well, where he also could fit in is, just tying
kind of that Taysom Hill role.
Yes, exactly. Tying those things together. Clint Kubiak, we saw how good Taysom Hill was last season. He had a stretch where, prior to his injury, he had that 40-point game. I think, let's see, when he got hurt, he had an injury, missed some time, and then was smashing, and then he had the kind of devastating injury. But in points per game, he was the tight end 3 through week 11. So for sure, kind of fits that mold there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to see guys like we talked about the veterans, but it's interesting to see guys like we've got Love and Stroud here at quarterback, young guys, right? Like some of these older guys that we've been talking about who they're being drafted much later than they were last season. But it's interesting to see the young guys that are like Stroud and Love are both very young, just kind of how the market, is kind of tossing them to the wayside. Probably get some more running back help. Throw Tajay in. I love Tajay.
I'm just glad you didn't go Garundo, with having CMC. I feel like that you're kind of making on this roster on CMC having a monster year. So,
right, exactly. And Isaiah Likely passed up on Mark Andrews at the previous turn. Likely was a favorite of ours last year. Had some really nice games at various points, but it'll be interesting. Like Andrews has been rumored to be a potential trade candidate. If they can work something out. Obviously, draft has come and gone, but that doesn't mean for sure he won't. And obviously, Andrews has dealt with some injuries. It's funny too, like looking at the tight ends from last season. For all the Mark Andrews discussion and how slow he started the season and whatnot, he ended up as the tight end 6. So had 190 PPR points. So it's just kind of funny how that stuff, the first 5 weeks he had 2 goose eggs, didn't score double-digit points, but then he really kind of got rolling there. So that was an interesting one. I'm also intrigued with Cam Ward going to Tennessee, what that could potentially do for that Tennessee backfield with Tyjae Spears and Tony Pollard. We're kind of being drafted around the same time as they were last year. Obviously, that didn't work out so well. But also, for as bad as the Titans were, I don't think they like crushed you. Might have crushed you that you took one of them over Chase Brown, but
yeah, I think I think they were a team that I implemented that my thought around drafting both of those kind of mid-tier running backs onto the same team. Did that a good bit with Pittsburgh, did that a good bit with the Titans, just because they were guys you could get in the 9th, 10th round, and obviously it'll be something we talk about in strategy sessions and going on. But yeah, that was definitely a miss for me last year. Was the Tennessee backfield? I don't know. I mean, Tennessee is just, for me, is a hard team to get excited about. Like, again, we'll each have our own personal takes, and it's so early in the season, but like, they've got Calvin Ridley, but then, they brought in Tyler Lockett, they brought in Van Jefferson, who I kind of think is a bum. And it's just like, I don't know, like it's, obviously there'll be a learning curve with Cam Ward at QB. Like, I don't like, to me, that offense is not a super exciting one personally, but their capital is low too, outside of Calvin Ridley, like none of these guys are going in the first 7-8 rounds. So a bit of a balance on that front too.
It's interesting to see, like the Titans for so long, like they had Vrabel as their head coach, and they just played that like kind of slow, boring style. Like there wasn't a ton of, felt like they wasted a lot of the guys they had, other than maybe, sorry, I'm blanking. Obviously Derrick Henry was very good, but like otherwise it was not.
They had
very
the wide receiver,
AJ Brown.
Yeah.
But I mean, even him, like he didn't really.
It's the first stream of the year, Mike.
Yeah,
I'm just surprised we haven't screwed up more people.
But he didn't unlock AJ Brown. He was kind of underutilized in Tennessee. Anyways, my whole point is they're a team that over years developed a certain perception. Last year was the first year post Vrabel. They have Callahan, and they were just bad. They were just outright like bad. So like, now again, this is not the Vrabel teams anymore. It's not necessarily they're trying to pound it like they have been in the past, and now they should have the quarterback position figured out, and a more exciting situation there. So I guess it's just a thing where I think they're probably a lot more likely to be decent than what their current costs would indicate. Did you see? So I just took Ray Davis at pick 156. Did you see Brandon Bean?
I did not.
The Bills GM.
No, what did he have to say about?
He was
Ray?
on like either a podcast or a radio show maybe yesterday, and they were kind of ripping him prior about like basically about his draft class, and that he didn't add any receivers and stuff. And so he just came on and like before he even got asked a question was just like going off on these dudes. So it was actually kind of entertaining to watch. Probably not the most professional thing, but yeah, he was going off. Ray Davis, a guy I'm going to be really high on, probably will end up one of my higher drafted running backs this season. Last year I think him and Cook, I had a ton of, probably like 25% of both of them. This year it'll probably be more Davis. When he got the opportunity last year, Davis was really good.
He was.
He just, Cook was great, and Cook stayed healthy. He was more trusted. Ty Johnson was involved on passing downs, and then obviously Josh Allen can run the ball too. So, but he still is like, Cook made it through last year healthy. Doesn't mean he's going to make it through every year healthy. Running backs, it's just a matter of, so much volume. Eventually, they could miss some time, and yeah, Cook's a guy I'm going to be very high on.
Yeah, certainly a guy I liked a lot last year too. I see the guy on the clock now took Rico Dowdle with his last pick. Like that's just a backfield that I don't know, man. Again, like early leans were still in April, but like with Chuba Hubbard there and Rico Dowdle, and then they drafted Trevor Etienne, and they took Jonathan Brooks last year in I think it was the second round. Like to me, that is just like a crowded backfield on a team that like was pretty terrible last year.
Yeah, I mean, even with that though, they had their backfield. Actually, I just finished the team preview, which they'll all be up this week at oneweekseason.com. Dave Canales, you look at 2 years ago, Rachaad White was the RB3. Last year, Chuba Hubbard He was, where did he end up? He was the RB14 overall, the
You're on the clock.
RB13 in points per game. He had 6 games of 20-plus points, plus Miles Sanders had the big game at the end of the season. So he's actually a guy that I'm actually pretty excited about, to be honest. All the quarterbacks flying off the board here.
Yeah, I don't know that you need to reach for one. They're all nothing exciting at quarterback right now, so you could wait another turn.
Yeah. So it took Alec Pierce, some big playability. Obviously, a lot of questions in Indianapolis, but he had 3 or 4 very usable games last year. And then Jalen Wright was a highly touted rookie entering the league last season. Had a couple flashes, didn't have, stats wise wasn't great, but he made a few plays that kind of turned your head if you were paying attention. And obviously, Raheem Mostert is gone, so he's kind of next in line, I believe, behind Devon Achane for the Dolphins backfield. So that'll be an interesting how that plays out. And I can see Wright again as a guy who, by the time we are drafting in August, September, he could easily be like a 9th, 10th round guy. Yeah,
I could see that too, for sure. I mean, that's one of the things about, and it's something I know we'll talk about, or even you on maybe one of your solo strategy stuff, and we led into it with some of the rewards. Like, that's some of the gamble of drafting here in April and May. Like, there's just so much more uncertainty, on roles, on just injuries. A lot of things will change between now and that first week of September.
Sorry, I'm on mute.
Yeah, no worries. All right, so you got what looks like a 1-6-7-2 through 16 rounds. Probably need another quarterback, maybe even 2. Just because the guys you'll be taking now, there might not even be a starter. You may need to grab 2 more.
Yeah,
from a construction standpoint, and then you could, if you wanted to bet on the New York Giants offense, not saying that you should, you could grab Dart and Wilson and say, hey, I'm going to have the Giants starter.
Mm-hmm.
If they're both available there for you at the
George
turn.
Sanders is there. Do I want him?
As I said, if you want to have a starter, if you want, I don't know. That Cleveland quarterback room is pretty sketch. For right now. So
I'll probably be taking a tight end somewhere in here. Cole Kmet, obviously his draft stock took a tumble. Bears took Colston Loveland, tight end, who's kind of like a move tight end, 10th overall. So they're obviously very committed to him. They already have Roma Dunze, who I have on this roster, and DJ Moore in tow. And then in the second round, they took Luther Burden out of Missouri as another receiver. So, Kmet kind of getting lost in the shuffle here, it seems. Definitely is. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that Bears team shakes out. Another team, they had the change in offensive coordinator and head coach from last season. Now you've got Ben Johnson in there, so that's pretty exciting. But no ties for him. There's nothing tying him to these guys like Kmet, who maybe the previous regime would have deferred to a little bit longer. Let's see here. So I am going to take, because I want to talk about him, Elijah Arroyo, tight end. And then, it's early. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Aaron Rodgers. I don't.
Assuming he ends up in Pittsburgh, where do you think he's going to end up?
He could end up in Pittsburgh. He could end up in New Orleans. The NFL thing, things just tend to happen sometimes. Sometimes things just change. There could be some other team who loses their starter in spring or summer workouts. I'm not overly convinced. I'm not confident in that pick. I'll say that. But the way this team shaped out with, I have Purdy, and then it's just a lot of questions at the end of the draft there. He's a guy who, you're one call away from, any point in the next 2 months, all of a sudden he jumps 6 rounds. So I think that's kind of when you're drafting at this point in the draft, kind of accepting that variance. I don't think he's going to blow anyone away, but he's a guy who, if he signs somewhere, he's signing, he's going to be on the field, which has a lot of value there. And then I took Arroyo. So Arroyo is Elijah Arroyo, tight end out of, I believe, Miami. Was taken in the 2nd round. His tape, kind of what he looks like. I think he battled some injuries, but he's a very, very talented player. He's explosive. He can really move. So I'm pretty excited about him. And again, kind of an overall bet on this roster, Seattle with Cooper Kupp, with Charbonnet. If Seattle just has a really good season, Arroyo could be a big part of that. There's not a ton of competition ahead of him, I guess.
Is this a spot? So I have a hard stop here in a minute, so I don't know that I'll be around for you to make the next 2 picks. But is this a spot where you'd consider Jalen Milroe if he's there in the 19th, 20th round? Are you just because you're making that bet on Seattle, or you good with not having a 3rd quarterback on this roster?
I'm kind of leaning towards no on Milroe. Kind of my thought process on that is, I don't know that if Milroe's playing, he's gone anyways. But if Milroe's playing a lot,
you think it's not good for the rest of your team anyway?
Yeah, it might not be. It might not be great for their production, right? Just because of how he plays, kind of what his skill set is. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking there.
Makes sense. Well, hey, buddy, I'm gonna let you run. I know you're on the clock now, but great to be back with you here today. Looking forward to getting this back on the calendar every week, and good to kind of have those OWS subscribers back in the chat. Look forward to seeing you guys around Discord and whatnot. But Mike, have a great rest of the week. I'm gonna drop off and catch you around the site.
Likewise, thanks for joining me. Yeah, and then that finished it up. We'll say goodbye to Stat. Thank you again, Stat. But yeah, so this finishing up the draft. Everybody else still has to pick, but finished up with Malik Washington from Miami, tying him in with that Jalen Wright, Jonnu Smith, potentially Miami post Tyreek Hill, whether that's just he fades a little bit or they trade him outright. Again, kind of the theme of this is leaning into some uncertainty. You've got Dylan Sampson, rookie running back for the Browns, was drafted in the 4th round. They also drafted Quinshawn Judkins with the 2nd round pick that they picked up from trading out of the Travis Hunter pick. So he was a running back that they selected in the 2nd round. And then they took Sampson in the 4th round. Sometimes because of that draft capital, the market can be a little overconfident in how that offense, how that backfield is going to play out. But, these guys are, both played at big time schools and are going to, they're going to go into camp and they're going to duke it out. And they have different skill sets, so they could play together. But also, it's not impossible that Samson could win that battle and kind of be the more featured guy. So yeah, and then I've got, Ray Davis, paired him with Ty Johnson, kind of a bet on, James Cook maybe missing some time. So overall, pretty pleased with how I was able to kind of tie things together here. Yeah, it was pretty solid. For those of you who are new, check us out. If you go to oneweekseason.com, we have our Best Ball Plus right up on the home screen. You can sign up for Best Ball Basics or Best Ball Plus. Stat and I, this is Tuesday, April 29th. Most weeks we will do this on Mondays. I had a little scheduling issue yesterday, but our Best Ball Basics package, $29. Our Best Ball Plus with premium Discord, premium private training sessions, and some deeper dive into game theory, help you take down these tournaments. That is $99. And that'll take you all the way through up until the start of the season. So, and lastly, we were drafting on drafters.com today. Don't forget, if you use code OWS on your first deposit there, you will get a 100% deposit match up to $100. So, check it out. Check Drafters out. I will be going to record first training session of the year for Best Ball Plus subscribers shortly, and we are off and rolling. So thank you for joining us. My name is Mike, M. Johnson 86. We will see you in the Discord. We will see you on Twitter, and we will see you in the draft rooms. Best Ball Plus 2025. Goodbye.
1 week season. 1 week season.